All right, welcome to LunarFlow. We are coming up to a big holiday, Thanksgiving in the US, and we are also coming up to a new moon. So I let's come down onto our backs. We're gonna take this practice nice and slow. Let's start in a triple diamond, just full on. If you want to take a moment to like windshield wiper your knees from side to side, just take some time to get really settled down into a triple diamond. And as you get there, I'm just going to tell you a little story. So w my parents have a friend who comes to Naples. They have a place here, and they're both, the man and the woman are just such warm, like kind, considerate, thoughtful, hardworking. Like they're just really great people to be around. And the man talks the whole massage typically. I don't know if he's like uncomfortable. I don't know if I think he just likes to connect and like that's kind of a relaxing thing for him. But the last time I gave them a massage, it was right before a new moon and he did not talk. He slept. And I just think that's a really nice way to kind of summarize the energy that we've got going into this holiday. It's not a big bright full moon. We're not at the peak. We're not at like this big hype point. But instead it's a little bit more internal. It's a little bit more like being in the womb, where it's like dark and quiet and warm and cozy and surrounded by mother love, surrounded by just by love. And so that's what we're going into this holiday with. So I thought it would be really nice to just ground into that energy to get ourselves quiet and internalized and feeling that warm, like ooey gooey, yummy, like don't really want to get out of bed kind of energy. And I think to me, that sounds like a really nice energy to have a holiday. Full moon holidays, I feel like people are just a little bit more excitable, maybe a little bit more irritable, maybe a little bit more on peak. But now we're all just kind of in this little pit of just being held and supported. So just settle into that idea in your own body, in your heart, in your mind. Think about what that feels like. Think about just how good it feels to be held, whether it's like by your own bed or just feeling supported in your day to day, or maybe being embraced by a loved one. And just bring that feeling into your body. Start to draw your exhales out a little bit longer, switching your focus from your feeling body to your breathing body, to your lungs, to your diaphragm, that muscle that separates your abdominal cavity from your chest cavity, your thoracic cavity. It's a really important muscle for breathing, and it gets tight if we stay up in this really shallow breath. So let's take some breaths, big breaths in to really stretch that muscle. Sometimes it gets sore, like you can feel it. That's a good sign that maybe you've been in a little bit more of an anxious state, not breathing deeply, staying up in like the frenetic breath. And then on the flip side of that inhale, really draw that exhale out nice and long. Just indicating to our bodies that we're in a safe place to regenerate, to rest, to recuperate. We don't have any dangers to watch out for. There's no mountain lions sitting next to us in our rooms. There's no tigers. There's no rhinoceros. The stress hormones that we're moving through our body, we're coming from sources that are probably not an immediate threat to our safety, more like to-do list stress. And really, really, that's more about perspective than anything. It's not dangerous. It's not threatening. It can be destabilizing, but it doesn't need to be if we are aware of ourselves. Let's very slowly stretch your legs out long. So maybe just one side at a time. Take your heels as far towards the top of your mat as you can. Take your arms up over your head. And with an inhale, stretch, 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 stretch your body out long. And then relax your body down. Keep your arms over your head, but bring a bend into your knees. We're gonna take a banana shape. We'll pick up our hips, press into your feet, pick your hips up, put them over towards the right side of your mat. So your hips move towards the right edge. Then we're gonna take our left leg out long, move your left heel towards the left edge of your mat. We're gonna make our banana shape to the left. So our hands and our feet all reach to the left side of the room. I notice a lot in this posture, a lot of people's right hip wants to lift up into the air. Adjust. So both of your sit bones, both sides of your booty are planted on the ground beneath you. And then once you get there, just focus on softening, on releasing, on relaxing. Our muscles get stuck in patterns according to our thoughts and according to our emotions. And then, of course, our repeated activities. So our posture, the tasks that we engage in regularly, whether it's driving or talking on the phone or carrying a heavy bag around. All of these things contribute to our biology and our physiology. So especially just everybody, we've all been feeling the ramp up to the holidays in our own ways, whether it's at work or at home or everything. So just think about all the weird shapes, all the weird patterns that your muscles pick up as a result of that kind of stress, that kind of excitement, that kind of anticipation, and just give your muscles permission to resume their natural state. Let go of the shape, let go of the pattern, get back to how God made you. Take a breath in, take a breath out. And let's move to the other side. So just move very slowly. Slow so you can feel each movement. Each movement is deliberate. We're going to pick our hips up and set them down on the left edge. Then we'll lengthen our right leg, put the right heel on the right edge, hands and feet all reach over to the right side. And then go through your process of noticing your body, kind of taking inventory of what's tight, what's stuck. And then just ask, like, hey, we're in a safe place. Can you go back? Can you go back to the way you were before? Before this pattern was there, before the stuckness was there. Like I'm looking out for you. You're safe. Let's regenerate a little bit. Let's restore a little bit. Initiate another body scan. Just revisit all the spots in your body that you know carry tension. Jaw, scalp, temples, neck, shoulders. My butt likes to clench a lot without my permission. I don't know what that's all about. But pretty much every time I stop what I'm doing and notice my butt, I can relax a little bit more. So find those spots in your body, get to know them, get curious about them, maybe talk to them. We know talking to water has a significant impact. We know talking to plants has a significant impact. I wonder if those two things are connected. But our bodies are something like 70% water, and then like the components that make up the other parts of our body are a lot of water as well. So I think like realistically, we're probably like 95% water. So we can talk to water in a glass and change the structure of the water molecules. We can do that to our bodies as well. And that's total new moon kind of fodder. That more internal approach. We're not seeking outside of ourselves, we're taking responsibility within, recognizing that our thoughts affect us, our feelings affect us, the words that we use towards ourselves affects us. It's all very connected. Let's take a breath in and then take a breath out. Very slowly, very deliberately, work your way back to a neutral spine. Let's move our hips back to center on the mat. Feel the neutrality of your spine. Drop your arms down by your sides or out a little bit more into a T shape. And let's rock our knees from side to side. Just a gentle rock, kind of like you'd get if you were standing in the ocean or standing in a lake and there are boats driving by, that rocking of the waves. See if you can invite that sensation in, paired with the rocking movement of your body. All three of us here have a lot of water in our natal charts. So this whole concept, I feel like, is extra relevant. Let's come back to neutral with our knees, with our hips, our spine, and then bring your knees towards your chest. Let's connect hands to knees. Then take both of your knees open wide towards the sides of the room, press them forward and connect them at center. So we're just taking circles with our knees around our hips, but our knees are moving in opposite directions. There's a woman named Veda Austin. I know she's an author and a speaker. She studies water, and she'll say words to water or put a picture by water and then freeze it and just record the results. And the water like miraculously reflects an image of whatever the word or the picture has before it. Let's change the direction of these hip circles. She's really good at publishing the information on her Instagram. Like I said, I know that she has books. I know she speaks on podcasts. I know that she's a speaker in general. But it's so interesting to one I saw was she played Stairway to Heaven. I think that's Leonard Skinner, Led Zeppelin, something. Um, in with a cup of water, she froze the water, and the water formed a stairway, like just very rudimentary. It wasn't like a grandiose foyer staircase going up to. No, it just was stair steps. But still, the water showed the image, and that's so crazy to me. Let's come back to center with our knees. Cross your legs at your ankles. Find a couple of rocks and rolls just all up and down the spine. Then after 3 or 4 or 5, rock all the way up to a seated position. From the seat, we'll come over our knees into tabletop position. Hands below shoulders, knees below hips. Start to roll through cats and cows, creating a big wave up and down your spine. So water, yes, we all have a lot of water in our natal charts here in this yoga practice, but tomorrow the moon will be in a water sign. The moon will be in Scorpio. So everybody under the light of the moon will have a little bit easier access to the watery parts of themselves. It's feeling, it's emotion, it's depth. It can be a little bit complex. But we have this amazing opportunity to be really intentional with our thoughts, with our feelings, with, just the dialogue that we have going through our brain. If we're sitting listening to our loved ones complain or talk about how sick they are, or just, recognizing how willing, unwilling they are to take care of themselves. I know that's a big trigger for me around the holidays. Um, the thoughts in my mind are influencing the water that is their being. I think it's very subtle. I think it's kind of like hormones. But I still think it happens. All of these topics, water, feeling, depth, internal, power, all of them correspond with the new moon. Come back down to a neutral spine. Walk your knees apart and then sink down into a child's pose. Drop your hips to your heels, chest to the floor, forehead to the floor, and then crawl your fingertips far, far, far away from your body. Let your upper body stretch out really long. My sweet Charlie got me a water structure device for my birthday. And so I've just been on a bit of a water kick lately, listening to researchers talk about what they know about water and what they've discovered about water. And it's just really fascinating. Coherent water is water that is alive. Most of our water is dead. The structure of the molecules of the water just indicate that it's not really living. We take it from the earth, we send it to these plants, and it goes through all of these processes to get cleaned, and that's great. However, we're stripping the life out of our water. And that makes a really big impact on our bodies and our minds and our hearts because we are made of water. Let's crawl our fingertips over to the right side of the mat, stretching out nice and long from your left hip bone all the way out your left fingertips. There's evidence that water holds memory. So the water in my body holds memories from, I think, 13 generations ago. So if you think about groups of people, like Jewish people come to mind, there are descendants of Holocaust victims walking around everywhere. That memory is stored in their bodies. I also think about like Irish potato famine people, like just people, like groups of people that have undergone um, serious, serious trauma, serious wounds, serious maltreatment by the rest of the people. And so we're all connected by this water. Let's crawl our hands over to the left side of the mat. I don't know how you measure trauma stored in water or just memories. I don't know how you measure that. So we might have to do a little bit more research on what that means. But if water can see a picture of stair or hear Stairway to Heaven and make a stair step shape in itself, it just makes me wonder, like, what else is it capable of? I am willing to not know. I'm willing to just be mesmerized by this little unknown that we have. Sometimes I wonder if our human brains can even comprehend the magic that is all around us. Let's take our hands back towards center. Reach, reach, reach through your fingertips, and then come back up to your tabletop position. Give yourself a really good structure by stacking up your joints, and then take some C curves. Move your spine from side to side. Let's come back to a neutral spine, and then pick up your right knee so it points over to the right side of the room. Take a couple dramatic circles. Knee goes all the way around your hip socket. Change the direction of those circles. And then extend your right leg back behind you. Reach it out as long as you can. Make a lot of space between your right hip bone and your right heel. And then set your foot down on the left side of your mat. Look around your left shoulder for your heel. And just kind of lean in so we really stretch our right side body again. Bring your knees back under your hips, and we'll switch sides. Pick your left knee up, point it to the left side. A couple of really dramatic, big circles with your knee around your hip socket. Change the direction of those circles. And then extend your left leg long. Reach it back towards the wall behind you. Pause to really feel the length in your leg. And then set your toes down on the right side. Look around your right shoulder for your heel. Big stretch, big lean, opening up this left side of the body. Let's come back to tabletop. Take a couple more movements, maybe C shapes, maybe cats and cows. You just listen. Listen to your own body and your own wisdom. And then back to neutral spine. Take your right leg long again, reach it back for the wall behind you, and then step your foot up between your hands. We're gonna rock forward and back. So moving our hips towards the top of our mat and then towards the back of our mats. Just find a rhythm that really works well for your body, preferably a little bit more on the slow side, just to really go with that waning moon energy, nice and slow. Focus is really internalized. Everything outside of us is a lot darker. The moon isn't illuminating as much, so we get our wisdom, we get our insights from the inside world. You can pause in any one place for as long as you'd like. This device that Charlie got me that structures water is called an analemma. And that is a shape. It's the shape. If you took a picture of the sun in the sky every day for a year, it would make an infinity sign. And that's a name for that shape. And these guys that started this company have done more double-blind placebo-controlled studies than they did for Ozempic. So this is just so interesting for me. Let's start to move into a lizard pose. So the next time your hips are forward, walk your hands to the inside of your right foot, wiggle your right foot over towards the edge of your mat, and then just work on settling down where you are, getting into your hips, letting go, finding stuck muscles, stuck patterns in your body that maybe you can coax your body to let it go with intentional thought, with your words, by talking to yourself. Um, they have done double-blind placebo-controlled studies on giving like what your brain waves do after drinking structured water compared to dead water, how your ATP production, which is a cellular function, changes after having structured water, how plants respond to structured water. There's so many interesting studies that they've done, and one that really stands out is they took dead soil. So soil that was killed by glyphosate and a whole bunch of like just nasty chemicals. And they gave it analemma water for 2 months and brought the soil back to life. And we really need that. We need things like that. If our soil is dead, we are dead because we're not getting the bacteria that we need. Our food doesn't have any vitamins and minerals in it because it's dead. And I think that's so powerful, just the water. And we can do that ourselves. We can structure our own water by just thinking about it, by being aware of it, by not getting consumed in stupid things that really don't matter in the big picture. Let's move from here, from this lizard shape, into a half pigeon shape. So we're just going to wiggle our right foot from the right side of the mat over to the left side. Drop down to your hips, and very slow and steady start to surrender your way forward. I feel like I've gone in many directions with this water thing, but I feel like it's really connected. We're going into a season where there's lots going on, lots of people, lots of, I don't know what other word to say other than obligations. I don't mean it that, I guess commitments. We have commitments to uphold. We have places to go. We have people to see. We have maybe guests coming over to see us. And our thoughts make such a big difference. It affects our water. It affects our company's water. It's powerful. If we can bring back dead soil with living water, imagine what we can do for ourselves by being really responsible with how we're thinking and the dialogue that's going through our minds. I imagine we could revitalize our entire body, all of our systems, our heart, our mind, our soul, our spirit. Let's take 3 more deep breaths here. And slowly start to lift your spine up. Gonna bring ourselves back up and move into our tabletop position again. So there's a couple weird wiggles that my body wants to do after being in those hip openers for a couple minutes. So you listen if your body wants to stretch, to wiggle, to do anything in particular. Give yourself a moment just to make that happen. And then as it feels appropriate, we'll take our left leg back, step the left foot forward and through, and slowly begin to rock forward and back. Taking good care of our hamstring, of our hip flexors, being deliberate and slow with our movements, and really intentional with our thoughts. Maybe if you think about that soft new moon kind of in the womb, held by your loved one's energy, if you think about that feeling, that sensation, and just transfer it into your hamstring, I wonder what it can do for you. The next time your hips are forward, let's stay and move into a lizard pose. So we'll wiggle our left foot all the way over towards the left edge of the mat. And then settle in, allow your hips to open. Scan all over your body, relaxing those points of tension. Maybe using your own words or just your own imagination to kind of soothe these tight spots, these patterns of stuck muscle. The creator of the analemma said, I listened to a podcast with him just talking all about the research they've done and just everything. And he said, if you can learn to be a good steward of water, you can do anything. Meaning respectful of your own internal waters, respectful of the water of other people, and respectful of the water of the planet around you. That means not dumping poison on the ground. It means not dumping poison by way of thoughts into other people's water. Choosing to be clean vessels ourselves, choosing to be uncontaminated, uh, takes it takes work. It's like cleaning the kitchen. You don't just get to do it once and call it good. This is something that we come back to. This is part of the practice of presence. Let's switch from lizard into a half pigeon. Slowly wiggling the left foot over towards the right side of the mat, slowly setting your hips down, and then still very slowly releasing our way forward. If you don't care about water, then you can't care about anybody. Your own ripples and waves, your thoughts, emotions. If you don't think those are important, then it's really hard to think that they're important for other people. If you don't think that's important for you and for others, then it certainly is difficult to find it important for the collective, for everybody, for the planet. I kind of feel like being around other people is like getting into their body of water. You know, when you stand in the ocean and you're out a little bit and the water's maybe up to your rib cage or your armpits. And so anytime a wave comes, you kind of bob. You kind of just flow a little bit back and forth with the rhythm that is surrounding you. That's what it feels like for me when I go engage with other people. I feel pulled and swayed and bobbed by their energy, by their feelings, their emotions, thoughts, passions, imaginings. It's not always very loud. It's more loud if that's all I'm doing is just dipping my toes in other people's water, just engaging with people all the time. But we do this, I mean, it happens around the holidays too. We all gather. We gather with people that we love. We dip our toes in their pools of water and we all influence each other. So, what kind of influence are you going to be? Are you going to be a keeper of your own water so you can have a really positive impact on everybody else that is in your presence? Very slowly start to press your way up. Lift your spine, ears over shoulders. Let's swing the right leg out in front and take both legs open into a big wide V. Before we fold, we're going to go from side to side. So put a hand down on your shin or your ankle, take your opposite hand up and over. I'm starting on the right, but we're going to bob, so it doesn't matter where you start. Just go back and forth. Let's take one more to either side, and then we will fold our way forward into a center straddle fold, reaching our fingertips out in front of our bodies, rounding the spine forward, welcoming that sensation into your inner thighs. Something else that this water guy says, and there's another lady that is a biofield tuner, so she uses sound frequencies to tune your biofield. And they both say that a strong, coherent field will always, always, always overtake a weaker, coherent field. So if your water is clean, if your thoughts are clean, your heart is pure, you are aware and deliberate and intentional with how you are conducting yourself in a group of people, the weaker fields that are around you cannot pull you down. In fact, you will lift them up. And I think that is probably one of the most important parts of the holidays, probably. Showing up for the people that we love the most, in the most coherent way that we possibly can. And then everybody benefits. Let's crawl our hands and chest over towards the right leg. So just very slowly shifting our stretch to reach to the right. Switch over towards the left leg. Let's move our spines back up towards a tall spine. Bring the bottoms of your feet together and be deliberate with where you place your feet. If you bring your heels very close, it'll be a much different sensation than if your legs make more of a diamond shape. So just choose with thought, not autopilot, and fold your way forward into this cobbler pose. I think for me, the thing that probably makes my water like removes me from a coherent state is faulty perceptions about things. I think, oh, because they said this or they looked at me like this or they were obviously thinking this based on the look on their face. I run with that story and I forget that I have fabricated it. And that really alters how I feel inside my body. As we move through just like the gateway of the holiday season, I want you to notice what pulls you out of coherence. Is it maybe an attachment to an outcome? We want things to look this way and no other way. Thanksgiving cannot look any different than this idea I have of it in my mind, or whatever it is. Maybe it's perceptions for you too. Maybe you perceive things that aren't actually real. Little things that come from insecurities or like, we all have our weird little wounds. Fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of whatever it is. Notice how you feel when other people you can recognize. that someone around you is not in a coherent state, what's your first inclination? Is it to dip down to their level to try to fix it for them? Or is it to stand up a little straighter, take some deep breaths, and remember that your thoughts and feelings about the situation make a ripple in it? I'm saying all of these things because I need to say them to myself. I'm not talking to anyone in particular. Let's come up to a tall spine. Let's cross our legs. So we're just in a nice, easy seat. And then we're going to roll our head a little bit from side to side. So let's just start with a little head bobble back and forth. Really soften through your shoulders. My shoulders want to stay up really high. It takes a little bit of effort to get them down. You can put your hands on your shoulders to really help facilitate that. And then add in a little bit more of a swivel, dropping your chin towards your chest. Bring yourself back to neutral and clasp your hands behind your back, down by your tailbone. Bring your hands, your little fist bundle, over to your right hip bone, and then drop your right ear towards your right shoulder. The thing about water is it mixes. It's the universal solvent. So, like, all of our water is connected. It flows everywhere. Gosh, we eliminate water from our bodies through urine into a toilet. We flush the toilet. That water goes somewhere. Probably goes to a cleaning plant or the ocean or something. If it goes to a cleaning plant, it gets processed, it gets heated and boiled and stripped and sent back out. Like, there have to be imprints of us in there, even after it's been boiled because of the memory. So then that takes our responsibility to the next level because the things that we are putting in and on our body, we're eventually shedding. We're eventually passing back to the water supply somehow, some way. Let's switch to the other side. Bring your hands, your little fist ball over to your left hip. Drop your left ear to your left shoulder. Oh my gosh, and I just realized that like churches use holy water to bless people. Like water is just everywhere. It's such an important part of who we are and our lives and of staying alive, like really and truly. But then it's also the currents that run underneath all of us. It's how we enter the world. We are our mom's water breaks and it's time for us to come in. I just really think that, like that guy said, being a steward of the water is just one of the most powerful things you can do. Let's release the stretch, release your hands, wiggle out your shoulders, and then bring your legs out in front of you. Let's come down onto our backside. Keep a bend in your knees. We're going to do some bridge poses. So heels to the floor, fingertips towards your heels. When you inhale, let's press our hips up, lift your arms up over your head, big stretch. Bridge, exhale, hips and arms back down to our starting spot. Inhale, lift back up, reach overhead, lift your hips, oh, so good. And release back down. Let's do one more, big reach, big lift up, use your glutes, press your booty high, and then come back down to the ground. Let's take our arms open, big wide T. Give yourself a moment to pause right here. Just let your chest muscles unclench, figure out where they are, and just ask them if they could just please soften. Please soften. We are safe. There are no tigers, there are no threats. We do not need to be ready to run or fight or hide. And cross your right leg over your left leg. Drop your knees to the left and your eyes to the right. I wonder if you freeze holy water, if it would make like a cross or a dove or like a fish. I'm gonna have to figure that one out. Again, the lady that freezes water is Veda Austin, and then there was a guy that did a lot of studies with water, Masuro Emoto. I can't. I'll have to send that to you if you're interested in it. I think I'm mixing his name up. But he would speak to water and then freeze it and document the differences between saying loving things to water and hateful things to water. When he spoke loving things to water, they made the most beautiful, like intricate, ornate snowflakes. And when he spoke hateful things to water, it made like jagged, incoherent, unsymmetrical, like nonsensical patterns that just, it looked like heavy metal. All very, very, very interesting, I think. Let's bring our legs back and we'll switch over to the other side. Left leg crosses over the right, knees drop down to the right, and eyes drop down to the left. Let's move our legs, our spine, our hips all back to neutral. And then bring your knees in towards your chest. Hold on to the backs of your thighs. Lift your feet upward towards the ceiling. Take some movement with your feet, some points, flexes, get really dramatic, slow it down. See how you can move each of your toes. Then let your feet be still. Take a deep breath in Take a deep breath out. And then hug your knees down towards your chest. Give yourself a big squeeze. Lift your nose towards your knees. And then release down. We're going to work into our final resting pose for today. So if there's any shape that you'd like to be in, you can have your knees bent and together. You can have your legs long. You can use legs up the wall or a bolster or a block. You just do what you need to do and get really settled down into your body. This is the part of the yoga practice where all of the stretches that we did, all of the thoughts that we thought, integrate in our body. So it's a very important part of the practice. I don't like to do it for super long on Zoom because I don't know. But as we sit here, as we let our bodies integrate everything that just happened, I want you to imagine, just use your imagination. If I were to take a sample of your water and freeze it, what shape would I see? Would it be a symmetrical, beautiful snowflake? Would it be a symmetrical, beautiful lotus flower? Would it be a big heart? What would it look like? What symbol could represent what your internal state is? Maybe it looks a little jagged. Maybe it looks tired. Maybe it looks like a pile of laundry on the ground. There's no right or wrong, and certainly no judgment. But I think the act of investigating, even if it's just using your imagination, I think it's very interesting. Maybe give yourself a symbol that you can use over the next few days, over the course of the holiday season to kind of come back to snap you out of perceptions that aren't real or thoughts of like people pleasing, having to fix everything, having a specific outcome, whatever. Come back to this calm, coherent, deliberate, aware, and centered place where you can be the highest coherence in the room and uplift everybody that is there without overcompromising, without selling yourself short, without being the one that takes the brunt of everything. We can only do this if we really honor ourselves. Because if we're stripped clean of everything that we need in order to feel good, then it's hard. It's harder to do. Take a big breath in and then a big breath out. Stretch your arms over your head and take another big breath in and big breath out. Slowly but surely make your way up to a seated position. Relax your shoulders. Let's bring our hands together at our heart, and just come into a moment of gratitude for your body, yourself, your awareness, all the steps you've taken, all the learning that you've done, all the getting to know yourself you've done, all the people that are in your life that are just amazing, wonderful, special individuals, places that you have to live, to dwell, to rest your head at night. And then, of course, anything else that comes into your mind. With all my love and all my gratitude, namaste.